Sok-sokan pamer ayang, orang ayang kamu diam-diam ngechat aku.
Good day, students. Today we are going on a school trip.
Yes, finally!
Yeah, teacher, one question. Where are we going?
Wait and see.
Okay, but what are we going to learn about today?
We are going to learn about windmills and the boy harnessed the wind.
Oh, that's interesting.
So let's watch the video.
Windmills. The world lives on windmills. Yet there is some things people don't like and like about them. So let's break this down in 4 ways. History, how it works, bad things, good things. Please make notes as we begin. Windmills. Windmills has been around for many years. 700 to 900 AD in Persia was one of the first windmills to be made. We are now here to phase 2. How do windmills work? Let's learn about the one you see in the photo first. So what you're waiting on, let's go inside. Welcome to the inside. Here you can see the website name. Having for sack traps and S, E, W allows sacks of grain to be drawn up from the ground floor, whatever the wind direction. When the mill is facing the wind, the miller can line up the sack trap on the meal floor with the nearest sack trap on the trestle floor, enabling sacks to be raised up from ground level to the bins at the top of the mill. The horizontal timbers of the trestle are not in contact with each other. There is a space between them. They are to set at right angles, and these carry the quarter bars at their outer ends. The main post is oak and weighs about 1.5 tons, 1,524 kilograms metric. During the Beanie family's ownership, a large house was built to the east of the mill. Edward Beanie, the miller at the time, claimed that it took the wind out of his sails and began legal action. His case failed, and a radical and unusual solution was deployed. The entire mill was raised on its brick piers. This lifted the height of the sweeps and ensured they could still catch the wind. One pair of piers is higher than the other pair, so that the wooden cross trees pass over one another at the center and do not rest on each other. Let's go upstairs. This is where the jog scry will be when it is restored. The jog scry is an old form of flour dresser and one of the few surviving examples in the country. Bran from the wire machine fed directly into the upper end of the jog scry and was sieved to achieve the maximum extraction of flour particles possible. The chain box allows the miller to change the angle of the shutters without stopping the sweeps. The chain is continuous around the chain wheel outside at the rear. When milling, a variable weight can be hung on this chain to hold the shutters in a chosen position consistent with the wind speed and the chosen speed of the sweeps. With the weight applied, gusts of wind will temporarily blow open the shutters, which will spill or dissipate the wind, and so keep the speed of the sweep steady. One of the traps hatches through which the sack travels on the way to the top of the mill. Grain cleaner, also known as smudder, is suspended above the floor on the left side of the mill body on the first meal floor. Grain fed into the cylinder at one end brushes against the inside, knocking off the dirt which passes through the mesh. A large fan, linked by wooden trunking, blows the dust away through an opening in the side wall of the mill. Go ahead and subscribe if you are learning something new. And comment, "I have subscribed." Sliding hatch for the miller to take a sample of flour to assess the quality. He spout feeding flour from the stones into a sack. From here, the miller can make any necessary adjustment by turning the tentering screw to produce the quality of meal required. The upper part of the center post is 16-sided and has several inscriptions. A tagged or signified numbering system to ensure that timbers were fixed together at the right positions. The marks have a distinctive appearance, indicating the use of a race knife, rather than the more commonplace chisel. The photograph shows numerals on the right side wall studs, which have been transferred to new timber following repair. Designed and patented in 1873 by Charles Hammond, the governor automatically adjusts the shutters in the sweeps to maintain a regular set speed of approximately 10 to 12 revolutions per minute, this being the ideal constant speed to produce a good quality of meal. As an important part of the restoration, An automatic turning device has been installed to turn the mill to face the prevailing wind. This not only saves the miller's back, but nowadays automatically keeps the mill stable at all times. Signals from the wind vane and anemometer on the top of the mill body are fed to the control box, located at the top of the stairs. It shows wind speed in miles per hour top display on the panel, and the number of degrees of misalignment of the mill to the prevailing wind lower display on the panel. If the mill is facing directly into the wind, the lower display on the panel will read either 0 or 360. However, if the direction of the wind to the mill is more than 30th out of alignment, and the average wind speed is 10 mph or more, then the mill will be automatically turned to face the wind by the battery-powered motors at the base of the main ladder. Stairwell down to the stone floor. The grain was emptied into this bin from which it could be fed by gravity down a chute into the grain cleaner. The cleaned grain was then emptied back into the large bin and fed to the rear stones no longer in use. Used to engage the drive to the sack hoist bollard for raising sacks of grain, or controlling the brake to lower sacks of meal flour down to ground level. This can be controlled from any floor via the control rope guided through pulley wheels. Bench for supporting sacks of grain whilst emptying into the grain bins. Stored grain is fed via a chute to the millstones. When the sweeps are turning, this can lift sacks of grain from ground level to the grain bins. The sack hoist chain, attached to the sack hoist bollard, would lift sacks of grain through a set of trapdoors, set one above the other in each floor. The trapdoors are designed to be pushed open by a rising sack and snap shut again once it has passed. Don't forget to like the video. The wooden hexagonal box ton covers the rear millstones. These are not operational as we don't have a second set of serviceable millstones. The ton currently contains dummy stones of the correct weight to balance the mill. Sack of grain being winched up by the sack hoist. This long timber is operated by a control rope from this floor or from the meal floor below. The weight of the brake lever maintains the brake on when released. The brake shoes can be held off by engaging a swan neck hook. The heavy horizontal timbers, which run from front to back supporting the whole body of the mill. These rest on the ends of the crown tree and support the corner posts. The original side girts were rotten and had snapped, which meant that the mill body was resting directly on the roundhouse roof and probably saved the mill from being blown over in the hurricane of 1987. wooden hexagonal box tun encloses the millstones. The wheat grain is ground between the two stones. As it travels to the outer edge of the stones, it is trapped between the stones and the inside of the tun. The millstones are circular stones used to grind the grain. Set up in pairs, the lower or bed stone is surmounted by the upper or runner stone. In this mill there were two pairs, one pair French burr for grinding wheat, and one pair Derbyshire peak used for animal feeds. The French burr stones are constructed blocks of very hard quartz quarried in France. Stones would weigh approximately 1,700 weight 860 for kilograms each. The millstones are revolving at about 100 revolutions per minute. And this creates an airflow which forces the freshly ground meal down the spouts into the sacks on the meal floor. Above the millstones is a small hopper supported on a wooden framework called a horse. Suspended beneath the hopper is an inclined trough or shoe. Grain is fed into the hopper from the grain bin above via a chute. Grain is shaken into the eye of the millstones by the damsel, a device which engages with the four-sided quant spindle and which shakes the feed chute. The upright iron spindle attached to the stone nut which drives the top runner stone. The oak brake wheel is 10 feet 3 meters in diameter and provides power for all the mill machinery. Around the circumference of the brake wheel is a wooden band brake made up of 6 wooden shoes coupled together, forming an almost continuous ring. This brass bell rings when the feed hopper is running out of grain. It works by having a leather strap placed at the bottom of the hopper. When the hopper is full, the weight of grain holds the strap down and stops the bell from ringing. As the hopper empties and the level of grain is lower, the strap is released and it rises, allowing the bell to ring by knocking against the four-sided iron quant, thus warning the miller. The main shaft of the mill carries the sweeps, which are in the cast iron bracket outside. This bracket, known as the canister, has two open box-like apertures set at right angles through which the stalks which carry the sweeps are fitted and wedged. Inside, this slightly inclined shaft also has the brake wheel and tail wheel mounted on it, and sits in the neck bearing at the front of the mill and tail bearing at the rear. It has a wooden box fitted around it to provide extra strength and to reduce vibration. All right, folks, that was everything. Let's to get out of here. So, era now, we are here with wind turbines. Time to learn about it. Computer system controls direction of the blades. Cable carries electricity to transmission line. Generator converts mechanical energy into electricity. Blades catch the wind and spin. It's time to talk about what's bad about them. Windmills doesn't really have a downside, but wind turbines do. Let's see why is that. Hello there, I see you want to learn about what's bad about them. First thing I want to point out is wind turbines' failure is luckily rare. So let's get into it. Wind turbines' failure mostly happens with fire. Sometimes the motor of the wind turbine fails, then fire might come out. If you have a wind turbine fire, or failure, or shot or news video that you wish to be in the next video, then send it to us in Gmail in SODO or news@gmail.com. And who knows, your video might be in the next video. But anyway, back to the video. Sometimes in a event birds will get hit by a wind turbine. By the way, this is blurred for YouTube. I'm also not going to show this. We recommend to not Google this because it's really sad. But anyways, time to say what's good about them. Here's what good about them. They give wind energy, and it's a lot wind out there. We can take in the water and still work. They don't give out CO2. But anyways, that's all I have today. Goodbye.